This is VOA Africa.
Hello, I'm Esther Githui-Ewart. It's Wednesday, April 7th. Welcome to Africa 54. We continue to work remotely because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but what hasn't changed is our commitment to bringing you the latest and most important news from the African continent and around the world. This is today's Africa 54. We begin with some grim news. Coronavirus-related deaths worldwide crossed 3 million on Tuesday, according to a Reuters tally. This, as the latest global resurgence of COVID-19 infections is challenging vaccination efforts across the globe. Soraya Ali reports.
Over 3 million people have died worldwide from coronavirus-related causes as of Tuesday. Global deaths have been rising in places like Brazil and India. According to the Reuters tally, it took more than a year for the global coronavirus death toll to reach 2 million, but the next 1 million deaths were added in just 3 months. Health officials blame more infectious variants that were first detected in the United Kingdom and South Africa, along with public fatigue with lockdowns and other restrictions. Brazil is leading the world in the daily average number of new deaths reported. India reported a record rise in COVID-19 infections on Monday, becoming the second nation after the United States to post more than 100,000 new cases in one day. Europe has the highest total number of deaths at nearly 1.1 million. While the United States has the highest number of deaths of any country in the world at 555,000, or about 19% of the world total. As of Sunday, 4.75% of the global population had received a single dose of COVID-19 vaccine, according to Our World in Data. The World Health Organization is urging countries to donate more doses to help meet vaccination targets for the most vulnerable people in poorer countries.
That report by Soraya Ali of Reuters. In East Africa, Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan has announced a scientific committee to research COVID-19. This is an apparent departure from the pandemic-skeptic policies of her predecessor, John Magufuli. Angela Ukomadu reports.
Tanzania's new president, Samia Suluhu Hassan, has signaled a departure from the coronavirus skeptic policies of her predecessor.
Tunafanyaje? Tueleweke.
Under John Magufuli, who died last month, Tanzanians were encouraged to shun mask wearing and vaccines were denounced as a Western conspiracy. The East African country stopped reporting coronavirus data last May. But speaking on Tuesday, Hassan announced a new body to carry out scientific research.
I
intend to form a committee of experts to have an in-depth look at the issue of COVID-19 and look at the remedies that we're being told will help us, expertly and in depth, and then they can advise the government. We cannot keep silent on it, accept it, or deny it without expert research findings.
Though she did not announce any other COVID-19 related changes, Hassan said it was time to take a stance. In another change, she said that media banned under Magufuli's government should be allowed to operate. Hassan was Magufuli's deputy for 6 years, up until his death last month, which was attributed to heart disease. At times, she had embraced his unorthodox and increasingly authoritarian style, but her apparent change of course suggests Tanzania could be heading in a different direction.
That was Angela Ukomadu of Reuters reporting. As the U.S. nears reaching its goal of vaccinating 200 million Americans by the end of April, the Biden administration is taking more steps toward helping other nations by appointing a coordinator for its global COVID-19 response. White House correspondent Patsy Widakuswara has the story.
By April 19th, all adults in the U.S. will be eligible to get the vaccine, announced President Joe Biden, 2 weeks earlier than his original May 1st deadline.
We're now administering an average of 3 million shots per day, over 20 million shots a week. On Saturday alone, we reported more than 4 million shots were administered. We're the first country to administer 150 million shots and the first country to fully vaccinate over 62 million people.
Under pressure from other countries to share vaccines, earlier this week Biden appointed Gail Smith as coordinator for the administration's global COVID-19 response. Smith is a global health expert who has advocated for shipping surplus vaccines abroad.
American leadership is desperately needed, and I'm extremely confident we can rise to the occasion.
While many lower and middle-income countries have begun inoculating with Chinese vaccines and doses coming from COVAX, the UN's global vaccines sharing mechanism, experts say there is still a lot the U.S. can do beyond providing surplus doses.
It can help grow manufacturing capacity as a goal. It can bring order and transparency to a vaccine marketplace around the world that is untransparent, chaotic, and unaccountable at the moment.
On Tuesday, Biden also visited a vaccination site at a chapel in Virginia. His administration has launched a coalition of religious and community leaders to help persuade Americans reluctant to get vaccinated, around 20% according to polls. Americans are also increasingly defying health protocols, including many who celebrated a college basketball victory earlier this week.
We have over 60,000 new cases occurring every day, and younger adults now are the vectors. They are spreading this virus. They're going to ball games. They're going to restaurants and bars.
According to the White House, about 40% of adults in the U.S. have received at least one dose, and almost 20% of the total population is fully vaccinated. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News.
United Nations teams have received worrying reports that Tanzania has rejected over 1,000 people seeking refuge from an Islamic State-claimed attack on a town in northern Mozambique, the UN refugee agency UNHCR said on Tuesday. The March 24 attack on the town of Palma, adjacent to gas developments worth $60 billion, sent the town's residents scattering in all directions, with some fleeing into dense forest while others escaped by boat. Some headed north towards Tanzania, according to aid workers. A UNHCR statement called on Mozambique's neighbors to provide access to those seeking protection. The UN agency had earlier told Reuters it does not have access to the border or affected areas. Two other aid workers said Tanzania had refused their organization's access, while the Mozambique side of the border was considered too dangerous. Hundreds of people, meanwhile, had crossed into Tanzania by land, only to be sent back later via a different border post, according to one of the aid workers and a security consultant who works with a number of humanitarian agencies. National and local Tanzanian officials either did not respond to Reuters' calls or declined comment. The latest round of talks with Ethiopia over the Grand Ethiopian Dam in Kinshasa have ended with no progress, according to a Tuesday statement by Egypt and Sudan. Delegations from three countries were meeting in the Democratic Republic of Congo amid efforts to break a deadlock in talks over a project Ethiopia says is key to its economic development and power generation. Egypt fears the dam will jeopardize its supplies of Nile water, while Sudan is concerned about the dam's safety and water flows through its own dams and water stations. Before the meetings began, Egypt had said they represented the last chance to restart negotiations before Ethiopia begins to fill the dam for the second year in a row after seasonal rains begin this summer. After Kinshasa meeting, Ethiopia emphasized that the second-year filling of the dam reservoir would be carried out as scheduled and expressed its readiness to facilitate data and information exchange on the filling, according to Foreign Ministry statement. Zimbabwe's main opposition party says the government is again cracking down on critics with a prison sentence given to 28-year-old Makomborero Haruzivishe. A court found him guilty of inciting violence but rights groups say the real aim is to intimidate protesters demanding more financial support for the poor. Columbus Mavunga reports from Harare.
For the next 14 months, this will be Makomborero Aruziveshe's home after he was sentenced to prison Tuesday. Authorities say the 28-year-old blew a whistle to alert opposition protesters to pounce on police during a protest in February last year. But the Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights says only circumstantial evidence was used to convict him of inciting violence and resisting arrest.
Because we believe the facts upon which the court relied to arrive at the decision to convict could not support that decision. And therefore, it was a serious misdirection on the part of the court to convict him of those offenses, and we are definitely taking it up on appeal.
The opposition movement for Democratic Alliance said Aruziveshe's conviction marked a sad day for democracy. His arrest happened at a protest demanding the government provide more support to poor Zimbabweans.
It confirms the complete emasculation of state institutions for Zimbabwe. The conviction and the heavy sentence is meant to send out a chilling effect to the democratic movement in Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe's government says the conviction of Aruziveshe, who has taken part in many anti-government protests, was legitimate and legal.
He did make those statements which were inciting violence. So it's straightforward. You incite violence. Is it a criminal act in our statutes? It is. Was there evidence against him? The court determined that there was evidence against him. And that's what determines a conviction.
Aruziveshe faces other charges related to organizing protests during the country's COVID-19 lockdown and an accusation of kidnapping. As he left the court after his conviction Tuesday, Aruziveshe shouted, "The struggle continues." Columbus Mavunga, VOA News, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Prosecutors continued to make their case Tuesday as the trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer charged in the death of George Floyd, enters its second week. VOA's Isha Sarai has more.
Employees of the Minneapolis Police Department on Tuesday echoed statements by their chief a day earlier that Derek Chauvin's neck restraint of George Floyd, which he sustained for over 9 minutes, was not consistent with the department's training.
And so if there was, say, for example, the subject was under control and handcuffed, would this be authorized?
I would say no.
Under cross-examination by Chauvin's attorney, Mersel testified that officers are trained in some situations to use their knee across the suspect's back or shoulder and employ their body weight to maintain control. But he specified that
we tell officers to stay away from the neck when possible.
Officers detailed the training that Chauvin received during his time on the force, including courses on de-escalation and basic first aid. Also on the stand Tuesday was a use of force expert who deemed that Chauvin's actions against Floyd were excessive.
What is your opinion as to the degree of force used by the defendant on Mr. Floyd on the date in question?
My opinion was that the force was excessive.
Medical professionals who testified earlier said Floyd had likely died due to a lack of oxygen. Defense attorneys say Floyd died of unrelated medical issues and drug use. The trial is expected to last several weeks. Isha Sarai, VOA News, Washington.
Let us know what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also, check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come, a Nigerian tech startup seeks to revolutionize health insurance and risk management in Africa. We'll be right back.
Hello, welcome to Straight Talk Africa, live from the Voice of America headquarters here in Washington. I am Shaka Sali. Straight Talk Africa, we call it like it is. We discuss issues that reflect the interests of our audience without fear or favor. We are guided by facts, and I look at myself as a servant of nothing but the truth.
Welcome back to Africa 54. A famed chess cafe in New York City called Chess Forum has survived the pandemic Eleanor Wolf reports in this story, narrated by Anna Rice.
Like, what do you call this in Russian? Sloan, elephant. Elephant, yeah, the sloan, yeah. See, that's in the old Indian game, this used to be a camel.
If you ask the founder and owner of the legendary cafe Chess Forum, Imad Kachan, about chess, be prepared to talk for hours and maybe play a game. And while today his cafe is mostly empty, once not so long ago, all the tables were taken.
After 5 o'clock, it starts to fill up. People come in and play all night long, and we used to be 24 hours. And no room to sit, full place, 24 hours. There were 15 tables, so 30 seats, plus 2 in the front, and it was like a whole different world.
Kachan has been obsessed with chess since his youth. It became his career 25 years ago when he borrowed some money from relatives and revived a historic chess studio on Thompson Street in New York City.
In a place that was opened 50 years ago by a Russian-Ukrainian grandmaster of Greek origin called Nicholas Rosolimo.
With no wife or children, Kachan devoted himself to the cafe and reopened it in 1995. He has managed to keep it going through 2020, thanks in part to his decision to sell some of his precious chess collections online.
The French made same thing, but with the fleur de lis, the French royal symbol. And the other East European feature and Russian is this different color ball on top.
With the arrival of spring 2021 and the first wave of mass vaccinations, Kachan has been seeing more people inside his cafe. And after the release of Netflix's Queen's Gambit show, chess has become trendy again, which is welcome news to the chess cafe owner.
Michael.
Finally, Kachan is seeing what he loves to see inside his cafe. Players sitting opposite each other, chess clinking quietly on the boards, face masks, no handshakes yet.
Here, just about you and me. You don't care how much money I have. I don't care if you are from the Robespierre family or from the Bourbons.
Life, like chess, is a fickle game. For a time, it seemed like Kachan was going to lose, but for now, he has managed to save his business and instead put the pandemic in check. For Elena Wolf in New York, Anna Rice, VOA News.
A recent report published by the National Academy of Sciences paints a grim picture of declining diversity in ocean life. In the study that spanned decades, researchers link a drop in species to a rise in ocean temperature. VOA's Arashar Basadi has our report.
Research published Monday shows a strong correlation between rising sea surface temperatures and a roughly 50% drop worldwide in the total number of open water species in just 40 years.
In geological history, this is a blimp, so it's just a wink of an eye. And to see such rapid changes changes occurring so rapidly is something that's astonishing, I would say.
Researcher and ecologist Sebastian First says coral reefs have begun moving north and south toward the poles, a sign they're adapting to warmer waters. But he questions if the shift can happen fast enough to adjust to the changing climate. The species that can easily move have largely done so, says researcher Chaya Chaudhary.
We found that almost all the marine species have moving away from the equator, and they are accumulating in the subtropics, and that's where we have higher peak in the species diversity.
Conservation scientist Stuart Pym says the study by the National Academy of Sciences shows broad trends that demand attention.
What we're doing to the planet is causing an enormous amount of disruption in all sorts of ways. And I think we have to get a handle on that.
Pym says scientists need more data and details to study growing concerns about the food chain. Experts say biodiversity is an essential component to nutritional food. The World Wildlife Fund says approximately 3 billion people worldwide rely on proteins fished, farmed, or caught in the water. Arash Arabasadi, VOA News.
In our tech news, Nigerian insurance technology startup Curacell, an artificial intelligence-powered platform for claims processing and fraud management in Africa, has secured $450,000 in funding for product development and expansion. The startup already works with some of the biggest insurers and hospitals in Nigeria, Ghana, and Uganda. For more, Africa 54's technology correspondent Paul Ndiho via Skype spoke to Henry Mascot, co-founder and CEO of Curacell, which is based in Lagos, Nigeria.
Henry Mascot, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure.
You run a startup company in Lagos, Nigeria. Maybe bring me up to speed. What are you up to, Henry?
Curacell is an insurtech company whose mission really is to help increase the number of, Africans or people in emerging markets who have access to insurance. So what we're waking up and we're doing every day is trying to build digital tools, infrastructure to increase, the number of people who are able to access risk protection. So really our job is to build the right products that enable, stakeholders in the insurance ecosystem, create better products, reach more people, insure more people, right? One of our products is currently used by, insurance companies in 3 countries, and, it helps them do claims management and fraud detection. We have other products that we're currently having maybe one country that enables insurance companies to embed their products in other, consumer apps as well. We also have, products that enable, hospitals who have submitted their claims to access financing from one of our financing partners while they wait for insurance companies to pay their claims. So we have, so for us, really, what we're trying to do is to build an infrastructure that enables the insurance ecosystem just work better and just deliver a lot more value.
When you talk about insurance, a lot of Africans are not insured, or even in Nigeria where you are. Yes. Trying to put in a claim and maybe get compensated, it can get complicated in that respect. How are you able to deal with some of those challenges?
We're passionate about technology. We believe that we can change a lot of things in the world using technology. So and then we were like, hey, listen, we can solve some of the problems in the insurance space. But then obviously over time we realized that the biggest problem is just that people are just not insured. They don't know what it is. The products that are designed aren't like the products that they need. Products are designed for the rich. It's basically sold to corporates. It's not designed for them in a way they can pay for it. So currently, to just give you some stats, in the continent, just around about 3% of the African continent has any type of insurance whatsoever. Then obviously, if you go from country to country, that sort of like varies. In Nigeria, is less than 1%. In Kenya, is around less than 3% as well, around 3%. So in most parts of the continent, the penetration is super low. Why we created the company was to partner with them to help them move quickly, right? Things that would take them, 2 years to do, we can help them do it in 6 months because our expertise is in building product, our expertise is in technology, and that is sort of like how we've come to help.
Insurance companies deal with a lot of challenges. For example, there's a lot of fraud. There is a lot of people giving the wrong information, trying to take advantage of the insurance companies. Yeah. How secure is your platform?
Really, what you just talked about is one of the problems we're actually solving with one of our core products, which is our claims management and fraud detection solution, right? Where we're using AI to help these insurance companies detect fraud in claims. So again, there are different types. So our core, so like where we have a lot of users now is on the health products, where if you're a health insurance company, you would use Curacell to do fraud detection. So making sure the claims that are coming in are the right kind of claims for the right people, they have the right plans, and then the items on those claims are valid, right? So we use artificial intelligence to go through the claim and then to make sure that, the items are in the right place. So some of the stats we have, so we've helped insurance companies working with us speed up the claims process by 70%. So what this means is if you used to take a claims adjuster, a claims handler about 7 hours to do a claim, we do that in less than an hour for them. as well, we've also seen that we're able to save them up to 25% of the money they were losing previously to fraud. So to answer your question, we do have it's a very secure platform. Thanks to cloud behemoths like Amazon and Google and Microsoft, we're partnered with some of these people to make sure our platform is secure while we now deliver our proprietary AI that helps insurance companies detect and reduce fraud in their processes.
Very good. Thank you so much for your time, Henry.
Thank you very much.
That was Africa 54's tech correspondent Paul Ndiho speaking to Henry Mascott, co-founder and CEO of Curacell, which is based in Lagos, Nigeria. The wearable healthcare device market has been growing, especially in the Americas, Europe, and Asia. COVID-19 is causing a boost in demand for these devices. VOA's Elizabeth Lee shows examples of 2 devices that are finding new purpose during the pandemic.
Imagine a device you can wear that monitors your health at all times without wires or bulky machines. The company BioIntelliSense created the Bio Button and Bio Sticker to do just that.
Things like heart rate, respiratory rate, temperature, 12 different clinical parameters, even coughing frequency.
This reusable Bio Sticker measures these vital signs every minute. The data is encrypted and transmitted through an app to the cloud every 10 minutes. The patient then receives a health report on the app. The Bio Button is similar, but is single-use and measures the heart rate and respiratory rates less frequently. Infected people who don't feel symptoms may actually have changes in their bodies a sensor can detect.
And what we've seen in COVID patients is that there's this characteristic alteration or almost pattern in temperature differential, respiratory rate differential pulse that precedes actual outward symptoms.
UC Health in Colorado, an investor in BioIntelliSense, uses this device so patients can leave the hospital sooner. The device also allows doctors to remotely monitor the health of patients and people who have received the COVID vaccine.
The device is not meant for COVID. It happens to be ideal for COVID.
Another wearable that was not originally meant for COVID is this AirPop Active Plus Smart Mask.
A silicone seal that's welded in.
This smart mask was first created to filter out air pollution. The removable filter resists liquids and can compete against an N95 mask.
We block over 99% of particulate of the same size.
This halo sensor reads and analyzes the user's breathing behavior.
We understand your breathing and we understand your local air quality. We're able to tell you when to change that filter with a high degree of accuracy.
From data about your mask to your vital signs, all easily accessible through an app. Elizabeth Lee, VOA News.
And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, we thank you for watching.